Hello my lovely crafty people, and today we are back with our DiScArDeD project, and today, using the colour wheel and the theories we've learnt in that, we're going to create a DiScArDeD palette. And I've created a digital, and I'm going to show you how I created fabric, then we're going to do paint and scrap papers as well. So that's our title for today. So what I did first was I had a look around me and I took some photos of some discarded items. So this one is a fence post that I spotted on my way to work yesterday, and I just crouched down, took a really high resolution photo, and I took that one. This one is a friend of mine's ashtray, and I know it's a bit gross, but I really wanted to pick out the colours that were in that. And this one is the fence next to where I park my car, and the wall is Cotswold stone, and you can see the moss growing through, the aging of the stone, and the paint on the fence is peeling off with a little bit of rust. And this is one of my lovely sunflowers in my garden. I grow sunflowers every year, and I love the way when they turn, they create all these lovely colours. So just looking at this already, you can see there's a theme to the colour. There's lots of browns and creams, greys, yellows, oranges, blue coming through as well, which really surprised me, particularly with this one. To create this digital palette, I uploaded the picture into Canva, and unfortunately I do have Canva Pro. And using the colour droplet tool, I just made some rectangles, and for each rectangle I used the droplet tool and went in and picked the tones. You'll see that orange is there, that rust colour is that dark one there, and then we've got the creams of the paintwork, which when you look at it from a distance looked white, and then when you start picking out the colour tones in it, a bit like the cigarette, you've got the blue band, which is obviously blue, but going into the ash and picking out the detail, you've got these blues as well, and the greys, and then the browns and the oranges in the cigarette butts. The fence, which is actually painted black, when you start picking out the pigments, is blues, and then you've got the bluey greys going right to a bit of black, and then the greys in the stone. And then with the sunflower, you've got the really dark colours in the middle, going through to the yellows of the petals, and then the different greens of the stems and the leaves. So the idea of this is we really look at the colours in each of these discarded images, and we talk about how we've used tones and shades, and the hue, which is the pure colour itself. With that, I mean, we've definitely got a yellow there, we've definitely got a blue there, and we've got oranges as well that don't look like they've had that white or grey or black added to them. So what I did is I printed those photos, and I printed them on photo paper because I want the photos to be quite a good quality, and I went through my fabric scraps. So these are literally scraps of fabric. I have bags of each colour, and I just went through and picked out colours that kind of go with the images I've chosen. So what I'm going to do is just create a little swatch for each of the colour schemes. So you'll see for this one I've got greens, browns and oranges, reds and orange and yellows, greys, blues, a few greens, browns, blues, browns, creams, and then we've got the browns and yellows, blues and the greys. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to create a swatch. Pause the video, and then I'm going to make the swatches for all the others, and then we will come back and have a look at how we then use that to create a paint palette. So let's just start with this one because it's right in the middle of the video. So my creams, these 9 colours here, start with quite a dark yellow, then we've got another yellow on top, then we've got like this kind of greyish cream. So I'm just gonna pop them all one on top of each other, just trying to start with the dark and get lighter as we go. We've got that kind of pinky cream lace. More creams. This is quite a yellowy cream, almost white, and this fabric's quite nice. It's got like a little bit of detail in it. And then this is out of, I picked up this lovely book at a scrap store, and it's got like curtain trimmings in it, and I just pull them out when I need them. And I'll show you my mind map, no, my mood board, and you'll see I've used more of those in the mood board. So I'm just going to pop that one there right on the top because that's got a couple in. And now I'm going to use my stapler. I'm just going to staple them together. So I'm going to go through that side, and then I am actually going to come through the other side because it's quite thick. Now you can't obviously see all the colours like that. So using my scissors, just going to cut them. So they gradually get longer, and you can see the colours freely within the swatch. Okay, and there we go. So that will just stick under there. I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to do all of those. These are just some button clusters that I was sent in some happy mail on one of the junk journal groups I'm on. But actually they match the colour schemes quite well. So I'm going to use a couple of these as well. They're really easy to make. You just grab a whole load of different fabrics, you cluster them together, sew them together, hand sew, and then hand sew some buttons on the top. I may create some more for some of the other fabric clusters, but for now we've just got one there, and we've got the blue one with the denim for that one. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to make all my clusters, my fabric scraps, swatches, clusters, vary in language, because obviously I junk journal as well, and we would call this cluster, whereas in fabric terms we're calling this a swatch. So it doesn't really matter on the terminology for this, but when we come to add in our notes and things, it'll probably matter a little bit more. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to finish doing that. This is actually my homework. The colour palette was a lesson that you would have created in class. I've created at home because obviously I'm not in class with you, but this is the homework. So I'm going to finish that now, and I'll be back in a mo. And we're back, and I have created the swatches clusters for each of the images I've chosen. And what we're going to do now is get our paint palette. So here's my watercolours, and we're going to create some we're going to mix and create some paint to match into the colour palettes I've created. So I'm just going to move the swatches out of the way. I don't want to push them down too much because it scratches the photo, which is rather annoying. So I'm just going to pop them there, and I've got some watercolour paper, just watercolour pad, and in fact we could use the backs because when I picked it up someone had drawn on them. So I'm just going to pull out 2 sheets. Ooh. 1, 2, and we want to create 4 paint palettes. So I've got these stamps which are like ink splat, coffee stain type stamps, and I'm going to stamp a palette for each of the photos. Now this ink, I have discovered, does not run when I use watercolour on it, so we're going to just stamp 4 paint palettes, just making sure that it's well inked. So that's 1, okay, and again. That's 2. Okay, put that there to dry. I'm going to give this ink a really good time to dry before I start trying to paint on it. 3. So I'm trying to create these pages, being a little bit more creative than just painting a simple block of colour. And the whole coffee stain kind of links in with the DiScArDeD. I'm using my junk journaling experiences and knowledge to help support this project and treating it a little bit like a collage project, but also it's very much a textiles project, and very soon we'll end up getting the sewing machines out and what am I trying to say? Get the sewing machine out and get sewing. So I'm going to leave those to dry, and then I'm going to be back and we will start mixing colours. Okay. You'll notice in these clusters there is little bits of wool as well, and some ribbons and netting as well. So leave those to dry, have some breakfast, and then we'll come back and get painting. And we're back, and these have nicely dried. I've grabbed some water, my mixing plate, and some paper towel, and these are my watercolours. These are from Shein. I think Temu sell them as well. I think they're also available on Amazon, but they're really good, strong colours. I do have like the what we call school watercolour palette as well, but this gives a much better, stronger colour. And we're going to start with this one, and we've got 12 circles. So we're going to just pick out 12 of the tones that I feel really represent the picture. So the first really dark tone I want is this dark reddish brown that's in the rust. So on here we've got quite a dark brown. Okay, I'm having to be really careful because I've already splashed some water on this picture and I'm scratching that one a little, but we've got really dark brown here. So just going to lift some paint out of that. And I'm not having to mix too much of the colour. And then I've got like a red here. So I'm going to almost pinch some of that. And just, yep. And I'm just going to paint one of the circles with that watercolour. So that's the dark reddish brown I want. Okay. So I'm going to try and pick the colours within that scheme. I'm not going to worry too much about the blue, but I want really the creams and the browns. Okay. So using that, I'm actually going to add a lighter brown to it. Just to that colour that we had, and that's given us that more of that orangey. Yeah, so we can go in with that one as well. You can see I've actually just using the colour that I first created and adding other colours, mixing other colours in with it to give me the shade or the tone of that original colour. I might just use a bit of that. Okay. And then if we come down, this one looks like it's got a little bit of white added to it because it's slightly, but what I'm going to use, I'm going to use this shiny cream. It's a little bit shimmery, but I just think it'll give a really good, oh, look at that. That's a really good mixed colour. We're just going to create maybe a little bit more cream. You can see it's just creating, yep, this palette. You can see the colour is starting to become quite watery because I'm adding more water to it. So let's now start again. I'm going to start with a brown. I'm going to have that orangey browny colour. So let's lift some brown. I'm going to lift some of that dark brown and mix it in with the orange. I'm going to get that really dark orangey colour that's in the rust. So really I want to pick out the browns and the creams for this palette, because I really want to represent the rust and then how the rust has run down the frame. So I'm going to carry on. I'm going to stop the video and then I'm going to restart the video, and for the rest of the painting I'm just going to let the video run, but I'm going to speed it up when I show it back to you. Okay, and I'm just going to create more of the palette and then do the other 3 palettes as well. And so here we have our 4 painted palettes that match in with our fabric and our digital palette. You'll notice halfway through the video I went and got my white. I do have a separate white for that purpose, because otherwise you just end up mushing up the white that's in the tin. And you'll notice that I have really focused on the main colours, not so much the background colours. So like this one, I've picked out the reddy browns going through to the creams and almost white. And then this one, we've got the deep dark brown going through the ochre and then the yellowy greens. And this one, you start with the really dark navy, almost black, and then cutting through the blues, adding some greys, a grey green, and then pulling it through to the pink. This one I've completely ignored the blue because that's something I can add in if I choose this one. And again, you've got that really almost black grey going through to the lighter greys. You've got the yellows of the oranges going through the stages of the orange and up into that very creamy buff and very pale yellow. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to leave those to dry, and then I'm going to cut them out. So it creates almost like a paint palette effect. And then the final stage of this is I'm going to look through my scrap papers, and I'm going to choose some papers that kind of enhance the colours of these images. And then To extend on from this, we're going to choose one image that we are going to really focus on and have a go at manipulating some fabric, combining some fabrics through tapestry or embroidery, slow stitching. We might do some dyeing. I'm not sure where that's going to go next, but that will be a whole nother video. So this is nearly finished, my homework. Hopefully it's not taking me too long. But yeah, I'm really enjoying getting into it. I'm really enjoying just exploring and working things out. So I'll be back in a bit. And we're back for the final part. So I've cut out the palettes, the painted palettes. We've made the scrap swatches. I've stuck this in. Now, the way I do this is I measure and punch a small hole, and then I snip across the bottom, and that enables you to be able to pop that in. What you'll also notice on each one is that I printed the image onto washi sticker tape paper that I have, and I've stuck the image down. This image is 70% transparency, so I changed the transparency on Canva as well. And I'm going to stick my photo at the top. I've used washi tape to split the page, and I've cut a tag for each one that I'm going to do my writing on. Okay, so to fix that tag in, I'm just going to grab some string. Got some nice pre-cut ones here out of a pack. Perfect. And I just need 4. I decided against doing paper scraps. I can always add those later if I feel it's needed, but for now I think we've got enough on the page to explore the colour palette. But yeah, I can always add some paper scraps if it's needed later. We'll see what Miss Baker says. But I think it would overkill the page a bit and take away from the emphasis of the digital, the fabric and the paint colour palettes. And we've almost got like the paper using the washi taped printout and using some of the distressed paper in the actual title. So I'm just adding string to each one because I want the string to stick behind the photo. So let's start sticking these down. So I'm going to start with this one. So the photo is going to stick there. So let's just mark roughly where it comes to. Okay. And I'm going to just stick using a bit of masking tape. I'll find the end. Stick that string down. Actually might even be put it down a little bit further. There we go. Stick that down. And then to glue the photo down, this is just clear PVA. And I don't want to go right to the edge because I don't want to damage the actual photo. So I'm going to use it kind of in the middle. And then this is the back of the washi tape paper that I printed. I'm just going to push it down. Kind of wriggles a bit. Okay, just making sure it is straight. Lovely. And then to fix the fabric scraps on, where's the other one? That's the one. I'm going to use this Yoo-Hoo glue. I have got fabric glue as well, but this Yoo-Hoo glue is really good at just fixing stuff down. Let's just, while we're doing this, stick the paperweight over that. And then, where's the Yoo-Hoo? So I'm just going to put a big blob of Yoo-Hoo at the top. 1. going to just have them so that slightly overlapping, slightly touching. And 3. Okay, I'm just going to bring that over the tops of those as well. And then to stick this down, which is going to go in at a little bit of an angle, I'm just going to use some more clear PVA. Just stick that down there as well. Okay. So I'm going to pause the video, get everything stuck in, and then we've got the tag to do our analysis of the colour and the hues and tones and how we've created the colour palette. And you see there is some space. If I needed to, I could add some paper scraps in. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and we'll come back and we'll just have a look at the video once we'll have a look at the page once it's completely So now everything is stuck down. We've come to the bit that I really don't enjoy doing, but I understand it's important. We're going to have to do that writing bit. So just thinking through first what I'm going to write, and the fact that when I was mixing these colours, I noticed that some of the shades and tints and the colours are carried through. For example, I think I used this colour to mix it with a bit of blue, and the greys are really bluey grey, and the fact that this one has blue in it really surprised me. And I'm then going to talk about in my writing how it's important that I've done this, because if I, for example, I'm going to pick one to extend out, I really need to understand how those colours are together. And this one, the fact it's got blue in it and really kind of those orangey yellows and rusty colours, well, blue and orange are opposite each other on the colour wheel. And we go back. So they're opposite each other. And then you've got those hues. So you've got an orangey red with kind of a bluey green, which we've got here. We've got the bluey greens and the orangey reds coming in together. So I'm going to talk about that on my labels. I am going to do the writing. It is, as I said, the bit I don't enjoy, but I understand it's important. And then that's it for this week. So I've done my lesson work, which you completed in class, and then I've done my homework, which possibly has taken me a little bit longer than it should have done, but I've got to get my head back into doing it. And also I've tried to show you a really good range of what you can do. So the fabrics, the paint, printing the backgrounds, and like for the digital, I have used Canva, but most other paint programs that you might have on a tablet or your phone will enable you to add colours and then use the pipette tool. So I will catch up with you next week. Have a great weekend, have a great week at school, and I look forward to seeing what's coming next. Thank you very much.